Okay, so here we are, a few minutes before the seated session. Sort your hair out. Just doing a little bit of Club Med. Okay, so we're just going to rest in our seated position. And notice the breath. Okay, so as you sit on your chair, could you be aware of sitting on your chair? That rhymes, yeah? Good. She is a poet. She didn't know it. Yeah. Oh, just can't get that straight. Wonky floors in this house that drive me nuts. Whatever. Anyway, so close your eyes. And let your feet be directly underneath your knees. So your ankles, your heels, draw a line all the way from there, going all the way up to the back of your knee. And your knees draw a line directly to your hip bones. So you don't have to worry about what's going on, and you can just sit comfortably. Morning. And if you're sitting on a chair that lets you feel what's going on in your pelvis, you can notice your sit bones mainly. So just sit for a moment, closing your eyes, and just notice your breath for a moment. Just notice your breathing. Okay. So, Club Med that's it for Club Med for today. So we're going to go straight into our little seated Pilates session. So as we're here already, sitting, and you don't have to be on a chair, you could be sitting on your sofa or sitting on the edge of the bed. Whatever chair you're sitting in, can you be aware of your feet? Okay, so I'd like you to notice how your feet are contacting the floor. Okay, so we shove our feet in socks and shoes and we don't really think about them that much, do we? They just expect us to take us places and expect us to do things for our body, carry us everywhere, support our weight. So can you just allow your feet to feel that the heels are right underneath your knees? So your feet aren't too far forward, they're not too far back, but they're right underneath. Your heels are right underneath the back of your knees, yeah? And your knees are in line with your hip bones. If you're in a chair where you feel that you're sinking down too much and your knees are higher than your pelvis, your sit bones or your hip bones, then it creates a lot of issues in the lower back. And tight hips as well. So you really want this to be level. So you don't want your knees to be higher than your pelvis. So if you sit on a sofa and you tend to sink back into your sofa and your knees are higher than your pelvis, then you're going to get hip issues and back issues over time. Maybe once or twice doesn't really matter. If you move around, if you fidget, that's okay. But if you do it a lot, then you've got sore back and sore hips. Okay, then you need to adjust that. So be on the front of your chair and notice your sit bones. Can you sit on your sit bones so your tailbone feels like it's off the chair? And think about your right and left sit bone. Can you notice your right and left sit bone? You might be aware of one more than the other, depending on how your pelvis is working. If it's got one bit of a rotation more than the other, one of your sit bones you might not be aware of as much. So in between your right and left sit bone, imagine that you've drawn a line, and in the middle of that line is where your spine begins. So place your spine in the middle of that line and allow it to draw a line all the way up to the back of the roof of your mouth, where your tonsils are, if you've still got them, and then out through the crown of your head. So all the way back there, the back of your head, as if I'm there in the room with you and I've grabbed hold of a few bits of your hair and I'm gently, not too fast, not too much, but I'm gently guiding the back of your head towards the ceiling. Can you stick with that image for a moment, that that's what's happening? Lengthening the back of the head away from the sit bones. So you get this feeling that you're in this tug of war. So the tailbone goes one way and your neck goes the other way. So you get this length then in the middle of your back. So we're going to play around with that for a minute. So I'd like you to imagine now you've got a bit of thread attached to the middle of your back, around about there, between your shoulder blades, and it's being pulled backwards. So that's why you're sitting on the front of your chair. So imagine that thread is being pulled backwards and someone is trying to collapse your spine. Can you feel that you're bending and curving? And then imagine that thread is now being pulled through and being pulled forward. So your heart is going forwards. So when you're being pulled forwards, you can feel your heart lifting. And then feel as if someone's pulling that thread through you and going towards the chair behind you. And you're kind of slumping in this C curve. And then feel that it's being pulled forwards. And then it's going backwards. So you're ending up with this little seesawing movement. So notice as you're doing this, what happens to your pelvis? Is it coming with you for the ride? Can you allow it to come with you? So you notice that you're rolling forwards and backwards on your sit bones, as if your sit bones were little wheels on a car. And you're rolling them forwards and backwards. Yeah. And all you're doing is thinking about this piece of thread that's in the middle of your back, that's being pulled behind you towards the back of the chair, and then being pulled through and being pulled forwards towards the front of the room. So you get this feeling that you've got this little seesawing movement going on in the middle of your back. Now, next time you come forward, can you let your face look up to the ceiling? And then when you go back, when that piece of thread gets pulled back behind you, can your face look down towards your knees? And then can you come forward again so your face goes to the ceiling, so you're right on the front of your sit bones, lifting your tailbone, and then you're going backwards. Head drops down to look towards your knees. And then you go forwards. Heart goes up, face looks towards the ceiling. And then you go backwards. And if you do Pilates on the mat, have you ever done that before, or yoga or something like that, you would notice this is just like the cat stretch. It's a really nice way to create some space in your back, to get the joints moving, to free up some neck tightness or shoulder tightness or hip tightness. It's one of those buy one get one free moves. It does a lot of things. So now you're going to change it slightly. You're going to stick with this movement, and next time you come forwards, as if someone's pulling that thread through the middle of your body forwards and your face looks up at the ceiling, you're going to let your face stay lifted up towards the ceiling. Notice your tailbone is off the chair. So keeping your face towards the ceiling, can you now tuck your tailbone underneath you, but your face isn't going to move? So your pubic bone is coming towards your rib cage. And then push back, so your tailbone goes back behind you, and let your head come down to look towards your knees, as if your forehead's going to go down towards your knees. Now your tailbone is off the chair. So what we've done is mix these two up, okay? So come back underneath you again, as if your pubic bone is coming towards your ribs, and let your face go towards the ceiling. Yes, look towards the ceiling with your nose. Let your nose stay up there and your chin stay up as well. Just pause for a moment, notice what it's like, and then take the tailbone back behind you, so you're rolling onto the front of your sit bones, and drop your head as if your forehead wants to look down. And your feet still firmly planted on the floor underneath your knees. And then come forward again. Tucking under, so your pubic bone goes towards your ribs, and let your face look up, your nose go to the ceiling. And then drop the head down, rolling onto the front of your sit bones, forehead goes down towards your knees. Last time, coming back underneath you, pubic bone towards your ribs, face looks up towards the ceiling. And then keep the face up there as you take your tailbone back behind you, and then drop your head. And then come back to the middle, so face looking straight ahead of you, and tailbone is just normal when you'll be on your sit bones. And it just finds its place. It just finds what neutral pelvis feels like, and the head just sits on your neck. Then notice your feet for a moment. How have you placed your feet? How have you placed your hands? Where do you like your hands to rest? So let's just focus on this foot here. Lift it up and put it back down. And do it again. Lift it up and put it back down. So can you feel that you're lifting from here? So where your leg meets your body, there's a crease. As if you're creasing or folding a piece of paper, and you're making that a lot deeper as you lift your leg. So really folding that piece of paper. As if you're going to tear it, and you really want that fold to be quite a really good deep fold. Then put your hand on the front of your leg, so it's on your knee, and imagine you've got a piece of thread here now, and you're picking your knee up with that piece of thread. Or as if it's lifting up to the ceiling, and someone's pulling up that knee with that piece of thread. And then let it go, change legs. So folding from here, feeling that that piece of paper is being folded from the top of your leg, and it's quite a deep fold. It's really creasing that fold because you want to tear that piece of paper and make it quite neat. Does it feel the same as what you were doing on this side? And then put your hand at the front. Imagine that you're picking up that knee with a thread towards the ceiling. Does it feel easier? Can you stay in the middle, or are you leaning? And then come back to this leg. So you're going to put this hand behind the head. You're going to lift this leg. Let's put the hand underneath the knee, so it's going to be easier. The hand underneath the knee. So you pick up your leg and let this elbow come across, and then come back to the floor. Come across and come back to the floor. So as you come across, can you imagine that thread is going through the back of your body towards the back of your spine, and it's pulling your spine towards the chair, the middle of your back. It's being pulled towards the back of the chair. So you fold and then change sides, change hands. Hand underneath the other knee. Can you pick it up? Over you go. So as if you're being folded again, pulling back. The middle of your back is going towards the back of the room. and then come back. The hand's going to stay here. Now this elbow, can you push it up on the high diagonal as if it's going up, not just straight up to the ceiling, but on a diagonal. If it's following the line of your arm and your armpit, as if it's length, as if you're firing a laser beam out of that elbow, and it's going across. Can you notice that this part of your rib cage is going with it? Ooh, it might feel a bit tricky. If you're a bit stuck around here or a bit tight, you'll find it's a bit of a weird move to do. There's a huge triangular fascia on the lower back that connects your shoulder to your opposite hip, and sometimes it gets a bit gunky and a bit congested and a bit tight. So we're just trying to create some space as if you're stretching like a line of something like Play-Doh, or you're stretching plasticine. So allow it to feel stretchy. And then put that hand down, change hands. And can you do it the same on this side? Can you let your elbow go up on that high diagonal? And this side of your ribs wants to come with you. So this side will shorten as that side opens. It's as if you've got a thread on these ribs and it's being pulled out to the side. It's quite a nice, delicious move when you get used to it. So you're creating some space here, which helps your breathing, helps your core muscles. Does a lot of stuff. Just feels a bit weird. And then come back to the middle. Okay, put your hands across your shoulders if you can. If you can't, just let them rest here and let your elbows feel heavy. You're going to turn to one side, look over your shoulder, come back to the middle and go to the other side, look over your shoulder. And as you go to the other side, the opposite knee will press forward. So if you're turning to your left, your right knee presses forward. And when you turn to your right, your left knee presses forward. Knee and shin. As if my hand is on your knee and on your shin. You'll be pressing it into my hand. So if you're turning to your left, it's your right knee and shin. And if you're turning to your right, it's your left knee and shin. So you get this rotation in the mid-back where we get tight in your shoulders. Rib cage turning and your knees pressing forward. So we get this release in the hip as well. Okay, so on this one, can you hold it? So your head is looking over your shoulder. Can you bring your head back around to the front and back over your shoulder? Back around to the front and over your shoulder. Back around to the front and over your shoulder. And then come back to the middle. Turn to the other side and let your head turn. Not your body, just your head. And then come back to the middle. So we're going to go back to the first side. You're going to turn your head and you're going to keep looking over your shoulder, but let your eyes just go left and right. So your head doesn't move, your body stays turned, your eyes just look left and right. Relax your jaw and don't hold your breath. Come back to the middle. Before we do the other side, go again to that side and turn your head. And notice, just from that simple eye movement, you're turning a little bit more. Feel a bit freer around your ribs. Without making too much of an effort, you're able to turn and maybe see a little bit more behind you. Magic. And then come back to the middle and let's do that magic on the other side. So turning, keeping your head where it is, let your eyes just go forwards and back, or left and right. Don't hold your breath. Eyes to the left, eyes to the right, eyes to the left, eyes to the right. Do a few more. Come back to the middle and then turn back in the same direction and notice how much further you can turn. Oh, that's nice, yeah? You freeze up a lot of tightness in your mid-back as the fascia around your eyes is connected to your spine. It's also connected to your pelvic floor. Magic stuff. So come back and relax for a moment, roll your shoulders, and we'll finish with shoulder stuff. Okay, so take this shoulder up to your ear and down halfway, up to your ear and down halfway. One more, and then go all the way down, up halfway, all the way down, up halfway, all the way down, up halfway, and let it go. Nice, and it should feel more dropped than the other side. So let's go to the other one, all the way up, down halfway. Nice simple movement, not overcomplicating things, just working with the awareness. And then all the way down, up halfway, just proprioception, just an awareness of what your shoulder is up to, and then let them go. And they'll both feel dropped. So now take them both backwards and bring them forward halfway. Take them backwards, you feel your shoulder blades are kissing your spine. Forwards halfway, backwards, halfway, and then come forwards, go back halfway, forwards, back halfway, forwards, back halfway, and then let them go. And can you put all that together? Forwards, up, back and around. And just noticing you're going around all 4 points of a clock or a compass. Yeah. And then can you reverse that circle? Nice. Notice your shoulder blades moving. Notice the top of your arms moving. Relax your jaw, don't hold your breath. Yeah. And then let your shoulders go. Ah, so nice. And then bring your attention to your jaw. Can you let your jaw just relax for a moment, let it hang, as if you're just giving it some time off and your jaw hasn't got a care in the world. And can you just let it move to the right side and back to the middle, and again. And if you can't feel it, you can put your fingers on the side of the mouth, one side or the other, or both sides, and you can feel it moving. Fine, if my jaw is going to the right, for my fingers on my left side, then I can feel my jaw moving. How far over it goes. Now can you let your eyes go in the opposite direction? Come back to the middle, and let's go to the other side. So jaw going to the left side, and coming back. Now let your eyes go in the opposite direction. Come back to the middle and let the jaw go from right to left. And then let it release. Close your eyes. And let your eyes, as they're closed, go up to the ceiling, go down towards your knees. Going up and calming down, just tracking a line. And then let them go from right to left. And then bring them back to the middle. And allow them to see a distant horizon. Notice a ball or something like that, or a feather even in the middle of the horizon, and allow it to come towards you, towards your nose, nice and slowly and smoothly, and then let it go back to the horizon. And it comes back again towards your nose, and it goes back to the horizon. A couple more, don't hold your breath. And then allow your eyes to open and bring your attention to your breath. Put your hands on your ribs. Can you breathe into your hands? And if it feels too much to have your hands here, maybe your shoulders are lifting, you can put your hands across you like that. Just holding and noticing. Maybe aware of one side more than the other. And then rest your hands. Come back to noticing how you're sitting on your sit bones, noticing your feet underneath your knees. Right sit bone, left sit bone, drawing a line between them and allowing the spine to feel that it's in the middle of that line, going all the way up through to the crown of your head, which is being gently lifted towards the ceiling. Tailbone drops, neck lengthens. Thank you for joining me today. Have a lovely day and happy practicing.